Sidharth Vijayan and the founder of the Great Indian Dreams YouTube channel. The intent for this channel is basically to create content, interview people who've created in their own way small yet significant Indian dreams that can be replicated by others who follow them. I'd be trying to pry open the methods that people have used in order to achieve their dreams, to make their dreams come true. They would be entrepreneurs, professors, teachers, all sorts of people who have achieved in their own way an Indian success, or success rather, in the Indian subcontinent or in the Indian country. I hope you like this channel, and pardon me for any mistakes that I make. If there are anything that you find offensive or wrong, please do highlight it in the comments below. Reach out to me on the email address that I've been cited on my channel, and I really appreciate any feedback, positive or negative, that comes through to me. It's only going to make the channel more productive and useful, and this content is for everyone who is willing to reach their potential. That's the ultimate intent of this channel, and I hope I achieve a small portion of what I set out to do. Thank you, and look forward to your subscription and your comments. Thanks. Start with a brief intro into who Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan is. For me, he's a compassionate leader, a brother for many, a captain to a few lucky ones like myself, a person never too far away to those who love him and those he loves, a man of honor, one who's got my back several times over, and an awe-inspiring gentleman, even in the toughest battles of life. He's coached hundreds, if not thousands, of young minds in this world, and holds a dream of having a self-sustained multi-story building housing an institute for children and adult personal development. And if you ask me, he is well and truly on his way to achieving that soon with great success. And I'd like to present to you the man, the young leader, and the champion of the Youth Corp mission. The man who believes the future of any nation is in the hands of its youth and has made it his life's mission to empower them with immense personal strength, the one and only Pulla Chippuyal, Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan.
Thank you, Sidhu. I was very happy with hearing the last part of the metaphor that you mentioned. Thank you so much.
I couldn't find anything better.
Right. First of all, I would like to thank you for taking this. Actually, that is the GID is very impressive. The Great Indian Dreams it captures really. So when we say the statement, it really captures, and then it makes us think that yes, okay, so we also had the dream, and that's what this program is all about. So it is really catchy and it is very vibrant. I really appreciate you, and I don't know if I merit all the introduction that you have given, but as far as the bond that you have mentioned about you and me, yeah, that part I totally agree. I can't agree more. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for having me in this program.
Absolutely. It's my honor, through and through. So to give a little more intro into Manikandan sir, or Captain as I refer to him, he's an entrepreneur coach, a person who's a personal coach for students and adults. And he's gone into many industries, notably some of them, and interestingly enough, jewelry industry, schools, IT companies, government agencies, even the police force, the regional police forces as well. He is a self-trained entrepreneur who has done his doctorate. So he's Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan, a life coach to thousands of students, as I mentioned, a trove of content that he holds and publishes for free for everyone to consume, and truly believes in the fact that everyone has the power to transform and to change not just their lives, but lives around them as well. Now, if that doesn't suffice, then it's true to say that he inspires people the moment he starts interacting with them, holds their back whenever they need to, and I couldn't think of a better person to start this channel with. So that said, let's move into the questions, if you may.
Definitely, Sidhu. I'm very happy, and it's the best way to start. Thank you for giving the pep talk. I'm in the receiving end today. As far as the pep talk is.
Nothing. Yes, sir.
Right.
So
Two questions in one. What makes Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan, and essentially who is Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan?
Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan is the replication of his father, Mr. Sundaresan. So he has always been the source. And the reason why the society is seeing me in this shape, there are two reasons for it. The reason number one is when I was in the school days, I was always thinking of talking to the people and changing the minds. No, always there was a cliche thinking into my mind that you have got some edge that you can give it to the others so that the people will feel better. There is something in you. There is something in you. I was always hearing this voice ever since I was a 10th grader, and I was having a trouble with mathematics. So basically, if you speak about the psychic vibrations that I had in the past, there was always an excuse that was looked into. I was looking forward to have an excuse of escaping myself from mathematics. I was thinking of a particular domain in which I will not be forced to have mathematics as a main source. So I thought, okay, this speaking and this talking to the people. And I used to take tuitions when I was in the 11th standard and 12th standard. Some people used to come for spoken English class, and in fact, that was the first inspiration. And I said to myself that I think this is good. I think I will be catching up in this career. So that was in the higher secondary, and that field, because the reason why I have mentioned about my father's name was he is an avid talker. He speaks well. He really puts things in an easier way to understand, and he always, he has been the most sought after guidance counselor in my family for my aunt, for my elder brother, and for other people in the family. So I was taking that as an embryo. His way of speaking, I took that as an embryo. So I put these two things together. My aspiration of becoming a person who could speak to the people, and also the nucleus from my dad, and put things together, and something started working out. And after finishing my MBA, I got more strong, and I really wanted to emerge myself, irrespective of the campus recruitment that I had. And by God's grace, I got placed in a couple of companies as well, but that did not really inspire me. I was really feeling bad that I'll have to put on the suit, and I'll have to put up a tie, and I'll have to go and stand in front of a person who will give or who will impose a dream in my mind, and then I'll have to work for his dream, irrespective of the fact that I have got a dream of my own. So after MBA, I started working, and I joined a college as a lecturer because it required the foundation. Because at 21 or 20, if you go and stand in front of the people calling yourself a trainer, and that will be the biggest joke of that year. So I had to have a proper platform. So I worked as a lecturer, and I put it as a trial and error basis. I wanted people to like me, first of all. And in 2002, it happened. In 2003, for the audience who are watching, I would like to get myself out of this, and I would like to say, in 2003, I met the man who is talking to me, who is eliciting the questions. One strong youngster with all the aspirations. Mr. Sidharth Vijayan was doing his engineering in that college. So that's where I started my career, and that's how a beautiful friendship and a brotherhood blossomed. So, and then onwards, people like Sidharth Vijayan started believing in me, and I started visiting lots of other colleges apart from the full-time college in which I was working. And then here I am, 13 years of entrepreneurship journey, and 6 years of being a full-time professor, about 18 years or 19 years backing up as a service. Now, you cannot go back. You cannot go back. The only thing that you should look forward is the mirror that is in front of you. So that's how it is. That's how Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan came up.
Cool. I mean, I really like this story of how it started off from your father, and I wish I got to know him. Unfortunately, we lost him a few years ago. So that's something, again, we have in common, at least in the father's side, hopefully not in the mother's side soon. So tell me about what is it that you were doing before you joined Dr. Manikandan Engineering, College of Engineering. What is it that your role was? Where were you working that didn't bring that sort of satisfaction that you were earning for? What was the job nature like? What did you feel during every day? And what pushed you rather than the sad side? What was the motivation that job gave you to break out and do what was necessary? Because I think that is super essential for everyone to understand who's going through normalcy in life without knowing that they can break out.
Right. Well, before joining that private engineering college, I was working for another arts college as a lecturer. I was called the lecturer in management. And yes, of course, there were students who really liked me. And if the college students are watching this program, they can easily relate what I'm saying. When you have a professor or a lecturer who is just 3 years or 2.5 years or 4 years elder than you, then you can easily gel up with the person. You can connect and you will really have a proper wavelength. And I was creating the wavelength and the people were liking me. But knowingly or unknowingly, I would like to answer the point. I was not very much into teaching, and I did not like teaching. And there was a song inside me saying that, yes, it is something related to this, but this is not the one that you are looking forward to. And in addition to that, if you ask me the question, the integral part of your question was what really gave the spur of the moment and probed you really to get out of the institution? Well, for that, I would like to give the answer. The people's limited scope of providing their decisions. There, what happened was, as a professional, you were controlled and you were put into a confined limit where you will not be supposed to give any suggestions or ideas or your decisions. I still remember it was in July 2002, 18 years back exactly. I was in a meeting and the chairman of the college was looking forward to some suggestion from so many people. And I was the most youngest staff member. I was just 22, 23 at that time. And that man was asking a session, and I was having a feasibility report written much handsome. That file was in my hand. Most of the other people were just sowing their points through the words, and I was having a feasibility report in hand because I was preparing the report with a prelude thinking that this man always likes things put into paper and things put into black and white. And that man didn't even look into the dossier that I handed to him. And he was asking me some question in English, and I was having a separate level of English, which he was not able to understand. And then we started speaking on a vernacular language, and then still he did not understand. I won't blame him, but back home I felt really bad that as an youngster, if you are not given a chance to express your suggestions and express your decisions, then how can you call yourself as a professional? So it was happening like I was working from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock for them, and from 4 o'clock to 5:30, that 1.5 hours I was working for me, because I collected some people who were willing to attend my classes, and I did not ask them to pay anything. I started working, and the security guard will give me the key, which really happened in MCT also, which really happened in the college that we both were acquainted also. That 1.5 hours.
I used to attend one of these.
Yeah, correct. That 1.5 hours was the one that was giving me satisfaction. And I was thinking, for that 1.5 hours, I'll have to wait for about 8.5 hours. So that 8.5 hours was totally unnecessary. The key performance area was happening towards the end of the day. And if you are not doing the key performance, if you are not doing something about the KPIs in the whole day, then it is professional suicide, I thought. Then I took a decision. I spoke a lot to my dad, and my dad was kind of okay with it. And I was about to start an entrepreneurial venture, and I was picked up by one engineering college. And that college mentioned, the secretary of the college mentioned that, look, you are doing a wonderful job in an arts college. You have to be here. That's what I feel. They took me to his room stating that I'm going to attend the interview, but they gave me a sandwich and a coffee, and they called it as an interview. I was not even questioned. The man, I'm really thankful to the man, the chief of the institution. He said, how can you help me in terms of the youngsters who are not having a vision? Those days, soft skills was a buzzword. And the only few magazines like Business World and Business Today were using the word soft skills. And when you look into a young man who is using that word, which is profoundly not found in any of the other magazines, then you will be really raising your eyebrows. And that has really created some stimulation into the secretary's mind, and he gave me the offer. And the only difference between the arts college and engineering college was the friends circuit. I didn't get students, I got friends. I got like-minded friends. And when I was doing my college education, I did not have that much good friends, but the students became very good friends, and they taught me what is friendship. And 4.5 years later, I missed my friends. The people who were very good friends of mine, they left institution. They can be only in the college for about 4 years, right? So I cannot expect them to be more than 4 years. Sidharth Vijayan himself got graduated and he left institution. And 2005 batch got graduated, 2006 batch got graduated, and 2007 batch was looking at me as if I was a senior citizen. So the gelling was not happening. But the evening session that I mentioned, that kept on happening still. So I wanted to milk that. I wanted to give life to that particular evening session. So I spoke to the head of the institution and I did not lie anything. That man was saying that you will be creating a very big vacuum if you are getting out of this institution. And I said, "Sir, I got dreams to pursue. Maybe after 5 or 6 years, I'll again come back to this institution." And he said, "Yeah, okay, I will be waiting for you after 5 years." But I didn't go back 5 years. It's been 30 years. So I came out, and thankfully, that institution gave the foundation for the other institutions to understand what is soft skills training, understand what is behavioristic model training. And so many people started using my services. And the campus recruitment era was between the 2006 and 2000.
Hello? Sir, can you hear me? Hello? Sir, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
Yes,
Sidhu.
sir. Yeah.
Something. Can I continue?
Yeah, yes, please.
So that 3 years gave me a lot of foundation, and then it went on. It's still continuing, and it will be continuing. So to make a sum up, to make the long story short, the thing that has really took me out of the institution was there was a part in me that was going handicapped gradually because of the wrong style of leadership given by the authorities. And my leader was not even given a chance to wake up. So I wanted to create a separate tiny piece of a land where my leader will at least stand up and see what he can do. So I created that, and that happened in 2007. So if you ask me, will that be possible for everybody? I would say, yes, it's going to be possible for everybody. But what actually prevents them from coming out of that rut that they are into and coming out and starting with something of their own? There are three reasons. One, the economical condition. They are afraid that their economical condition will be really put into a toss because of coming as an entrepreneur, because of coming out and starting something of their own. Two, they are really worried about the opinions that the other people are going to have. And the three is how long is it going to be renewed, and how long this wonderful dream, the flame, the inner candle, how long it's going to glow. Because once they come out of that institution and they call themselves an entrepreneur, the inner candle will flicker and it will be blown off by various other sources. So they are afraid of these various other sources. In my case, I was taking a very, very bad risk, and thankfully, with my parents' blessings and God's blessings and the clients who gave me a lot of belief towards my services, I'm still pursuing. So that's how it is.
So, interesting enough, you mentioned bad risk. Now, I'd like to understand why you would call it a bad risk, despite the fact that it turned out well. I know you have had your struggles, but why did you really mean to call it a bad risk, or were conditions such that made it seem like a bad risk at that point in time?
That's a nice question. Now, once I came out of the self-financed and private organization as a salaried person, when I came out, there were areas where you were pushed into a situation where you were only earning 35 or 40% of the salary that you were earning when you were at the institution. And 23-year-old young man having 26 I was. So 26-year-old young man, and you've got a family, a new family, and you've got a person who is along with you who has developed a lot of dreams. And the reason why I got married was I was a professor in the institution. My in-laws were very much surprised, and they were very much comfortable with the way that I was earning the salary in such an institution. But so that is also one among the reasons. The reason why I call this as a bad risk is there were situations where I was given a gloomy feeling that what if these college people stop calling me? Because the service that I'm providing for about 10,000 rupees, there is always about 15 or 17 people in the market who can offer the same service for 4,000, 3,000 back then. So competition, yes, there was a very big competition, but there was always a reason when a college has to decide that it should give a training program. It had a lot of things at the back. The chairman has to approve the hierarchy, the hierarchical challenges. The principal or the head of the department of a particular department which is seeking my services, they will hide their spine because they will not be able to take a decision of their own. They will have to always depend upon somebody else. This was another reason why I came out of a private institution, because you will never be motivated, or you will never be given a helping hand that, come on, I would like to hear your idea as well. So that was always absent. So my chances and my opportunities were clutched up with those people who were clutched up with the hierarchy. So that is what I mean, the bad risks. But right now things have changed. After 2004 and 2014 and 15, things have changed, because I have my own institution right now. People got enrolled into it, and the segment that I'm working on is not only college students. I have started focusing on teens and preteens, which is really very much satisfying these days. So the term bad risk mentioned that gloomy feeling that I always had, oh, what will happen in the future? How long is it going to be? Maybe 1 year or 2 years. Because some people around me kept on saying that, even in my family, 3 years, Mr. Manikandan, after 3 years, you are going to get back to the institution, looking forward for a chance, they said. And in fact, that gave me the fire. Until then, I was just normal. And once they started saying that, I became a dragon. And I wanted to prove them wrong. And that pursuit is still going on. I'm still on that pursuit. Yeah.
So if I may again clarify, it was more of a perceived risk than actually being a bad risk, correct?
Perceived, calculated risk, of course. But an educated person like you and me would be calling it as perceived and calculated, because we have seen things. You have seen several things. You have been into troubled waters, and you're also a survivor. We both are co-survivors to each other. But the person who is watching this program, who does not have any sort of prelude mechanism of getting into a risk, will consider that as a bad risk. So I would like to break that stereotype thinking of that man. It is not actually bad risk, it is actually calculated risk and perceived risk, as you mentioned. Thanks to you, you have given the clarity on that.
You've actually answered quite a few questions I wanted to ask you. Why do you do what you do? But let me go in a little deeper and find out what you're doing with, and I'd like for you to take some time to tell us what Youth Corp Missions is, what it wants to do, so that whoever is watching gets to know about your institution as well. So 2 questions. One, what do you do at Youth Corp Missions, for everyone who hasn't heard about you? And 2, why do you do it? What drives you?
What drives me is only one thing, Sidhu. The things that I experienced in the boyhood stage, I don't want anybody to experience in their boyhood stage. The things that I experienced when I was a college student, I don't want anybody to experience. And the things that I experienced when I was in the beginning days of entrepreneurship, I don't want anybody to, experience the same. So it is all about self. The modules that I have in the soft skills training programs are more self-driven module. Yes, of course, I have got some godfathers who would be backing me up in terms of the books, the audio tapes, the channels that I watch. But the drive has always been the same. When a person who comes for a counseling, let's say, for example, on one fine Monday morning, when a 10th grader comes for a counseling, or a college first-year student comes for a counseling, I can easily relate what he is going through. Because when he says, sir, I'm in the first year and I'm experiencing such and such things, I can very well go to 1996 when I was a college student, and I can relate that, and the solution automatically comes. I don't know how the solution comes up, but the solution automatically comes. And people call that as psychological counseling. I never mentioned what I'm doing is psychological counseling. People call that as psychological counseling. And only then I get, oh, fine. So this is what is psychological counseling, right? So you tell me that. Thank you so much for the insight. So that's how I became. And then I started telling that, yeah, they say it is psychological counseling. So if you come, yeah, they're right. I would like to give you some psychological counseling. So the drive, if you ask me, the things that I had, the bad past that I had when I was a college student and a school student, I went to know a lot of negative psychic vibrations when I was a school student, specifically when I was in the 7th grade and 8th grade. And now we have 7th grade and 8th grade. Kiara will be seeing those days. Mitra is actually seeing those days right now. So basically what happens is, when you are working in an industry like this, in a service field, your past is a wonderful roadmap for the future. So that's point number 1. And point number 2, I have always been thinking that I have a very good public speaker in me. thanks to the cricket commentary that I listened when I was in college, and thanks to the, you might be laughing, and thanks to the Jim Rohn's and Anthony Robbins' speeches and Robin Sharma speeches that I listened to, and thanks to the WWE commentators that I was listening to. So I thought I can do that. You know what? I can do this. I can really do this to the college students. So that kept me going. And I talked to my dad once. I said, Dad, I'm not satisfied here. He said, you are a professor. You are. If you do MPhil, they call that you will be given the chance that from AP you will be called as a professor. He said, all that is fine, but I would like to do something different. So my dad said, okay, what do you know to do different? And I said, what do you do to me and my brother, I would be able to do to a college kid. Okay, fine. So try. So that's when I started speaking to the chief of the private institution that I would like to go out. So when I went out, holding the mic and standing in front of 4,000, 5,000 people gave me so much of happiness. So then I understood that there is a very good, profound public speaker in me. Yes, of course, I had been facing a challenge of not being able to connect with some group of people, but 9 out of 10 times, whatever public speaking occurrences I was exposed to, it was a success. People liked what I spoke. If you ask me that served me financially, no, I would definitely say it has not served me financially, but it gave me the eternal happiness that that night I slept very peacefully because about 500, 600 people knew who is Manikandan Sundaresan and what he is capable of. So that desire is still there. And if you ask me who is more suffering in this pandemic days, it is me, because I'm not having a chance of going and meeting the public, and I'm not having a chance of holding the mic, picking up the mic back again and speaking to people. So these are the two reasons I think has really, really driven me to do what I am right now doing. Speaking has always been a wonderful cakewalk for me. And that too, when people come for some inspiration, I speak in a way, in a metaphorical way, and people start liking it. And when they started liking it, I thought that is the real niche that I have, and I started pursuing it. That's how it is. And it all got supported with the technological emergence and development. We got YouTube, and I still have the screenshot of the Twitter message that you sent way back in 2010. You said, Captain, if you are really getting across this Twitter, I think this is a wonderful platform to connect with many students. I still have the screenshot that you sent. It was you who has brought me to Twitter and YouTube also. We were speaking about YouTube way back in 2009, and I have a YouTube channel now. So you have been doing a public relation officer kind of a work without knowledge, without your own knowledge, and you have been helping youth cop training solutions in a lot better way.
I'm glad I've helped in some ways.
Right.
Cool. All right. So now getting to sort of a next stage, what is your one guiding principle?
Guiding principle towards me, or the guiding principle I give to
life for you? No, for yourself.
Not being after money. As much as I'm handling that, I'm very peaceful and happy. Not chasing money and not being after money. So when
I so vividly remember this during class that you've said that if you start chasing, you will always keep chasing.
Right.
Especially with money. Money. Yeah, I remember you saying this very vividly.
Right. It's a kind of a different paradox that I have been living to. So when you want a car, yes, you need a car. I mean, there is always a distinction between a want and a need. I always get into the needs rather than the wants. You know, my car is 6 lakhs right now, and it can take me to places. But it doesn't mean that I'll have to have a want that I need only a Benz or an Audi version or whatever it may be, or Jaguar version. And I know that I should have a phone right now. And I know that I want phone, but it doesn't mean that I need to mix up with the need that I will have to carry only an iPhone or something. So if a person is able to understand the difference between want and need, and if the person is able to have a self-control towards the luxurious things that could come and slash on the face, I think that will be a great guidance principle for everybody. So my guidance principle has always been not looking for money. For example, I have, in the beginning of the career, I would like to admit to you that when I go to a particular college for giving sessions or workshops, technically speaking, my auditing mind will start working that, okay, if these people are giving me this paycheck with this kind of an amount, I think I'll be really satisfied. But Yeah, I think I'll be really, yeah, it's okay. I think I'll be really satisfied if that happens. So way back in 2008 and 2009, I was thinking, but that thinking was a disease, and I was looking for a cure. And I got the cure. The cure was as an entrepreneur, because at one point of time, I did not have anybody after my dad's demise. I did not have anybody to guide me as far as some of the challenges that I were put into. I got the cure. Like, I just went there and I start delivering the program, and they start that, Mr. Manikandan, can we speak of commercials? I say that let us not speak about commercials now. We will finish that later. We will speak about that later. And then I finish the program, and they pay me, and I get the money, and I come back home with the satisfaction. But the point is, if I'm looking and going into the judgment of the kind of money that they have paid, then I become a slave of my own self, and I become judgmental. And that benchmark that I fix will be stopping the next program. And most importantly, it will stop the job satisfaction that I'm trying to have in delivering a speech. I'll give you a very latest example. I'm going to a particular franchisee. I'm training the uneducated staff members who are working for a jewelry unit right now, every Saturday. Today, being a Saturday, I'm supposed to be there in that office today, but they have been ordered to keep the shop closed, and that's why they did not have the program. It's been 7 weeks since I have started giving this program, and each Saturday I'm spending about 2 hours along with them. The owner has never spoken to me about the commercials until now, and I have not also spoken. The moment I speak about the commercials, if I'm a little bit of a greedy person, and if I'm having judgmental things about this kind of the money that he's supposed to pay, the 8th session will be jeopardized. So I have given him a promise that I'll give 15 sessions. So only 7 sessions, 50% is over. Maybe after completing the 15 sessions, I will sit for the commercial discussion. There, I have got nothing to lose. He also has nothing to lose, because he cannot reprimand and he cannot give me a negotiation trading that from the next time onwards you are going to be this because I'm paying you only this much. I will also not feel very nerdish that he's paying only this much. Let me limit my resources. I don't want that to happen. I want to be very happy, peaceful in all the 15 sessions. And maybe after the 15 sessions, if there is going to be a sadness or something that is going to be really disappointing, it is only for me, not for him. I have seen this several times. I have seen this for about 14 years, and that is not going to really affect me. So this mindset has always been a guiding principle. But if I start looking into the materialistic benefits, then the biggest danger and problem is, if you start looking at it on a one day, that first day of looking at such node will really damage all the 14 years that I have traveled so far. Okay. So everything goes meaningless. No, it takes just one kind of an ugly thing that you do that will really put everything that you did as good. Likewise, if I start thinking on that one day, then the 14 years that are backing me up will all go meaningless. So that's selflessness and altruistic principle. If you spiritually ask me to turn the word, that altruistic principle is my guiding principle.
Just riding on top of that, do you have internal battles with practicality when it comes to money?
No, I did not.
Because there are people around us who will always question, you need more to be able to do this, do that, for so and so, for so and so. And they'll give examples which sound very practically right? That you ought to have so much for your daughter, you have to have so much for your wife, so on and so forth. The reasons will definitely feel practical, meaningful, not too much to think. How do you have internal battles with that, or are you at peace with it? How do you encounter such conversations?
I might have been exposed to that situation, but what happens is, the one thing that supported was the family members. My daughter never asks for any big things. My wife always keeps herself into control. And these people that you're speaking about, yes, they did a lot of things. They did a wonderful contribution of making me feel inferior and low in terms of my economical status. But that thing is not going to affect you until your family members and the people who are around your shoulders in your house start asking you the question. My mom, my wife, and my daughter, and myself, the 4 members. Brother is in Bangalore, staying very much in a few blocks away from your house. So these four people have never asked that question. These four people have always feel abundant with Manikandan Sundaresan's earnings. Thanks to them, because they have always been in that note. I have never experienced a day where somebody from my family comes and says that what you are doing is not enough, and there is no enough amount of resources to pay that bill. There is no enough amount of resources for fixing up that. I have never come across this complaint from any of my family members. So that has given me the cushion against all these pitfalls and all these catcalls given by the people. But I would like to spot on with the term that you mentioned, the inner conflicts. Inner conflicts comes to everybody. I would be lying if I say that I did not have inner conflicts. Yes, inner conflicts have always been there most of the times. And this morning time has always been a very good pumping time for me. I pump the iron, I do meditation, and I do self-healing. If there is an inner conflict, I do emotional plastic surgery to myself every now and then whenever I get there. So that thing keeps me going. So I'm 41 now, so that inner conflicts had always been coming up. And the reason why I'm very much strong and healthy is because I myself do some self-healing process with inner conflicts. Thanks to the psychological therapies I started learning. After 2011, I have changed the training system pretty radically. Like the format itself got radically changed. Now people call me a therapist, and I'm a psychological counselor. So I give therapies to them. Practiced, tested therapies which stood the test of the time. So those therapies I myself am doing, so I'm escaping from those inner conflicts.
Awesome. So I noticed you say something really interesting, and I think I want to coin this term as well. I want to call you Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan, the emotional plastic surgeon. You mentioned it yourself, so that's on you. But I like that. I don't think I've heard it anywhere. Emotional plastic surgery for yourself, and you probably are doing it for a lot of other people. Yeah, you should. I mean, these are how terms are coined, right? You should make something out of it. Okay.
On that note, I'm sorry if I'm
No.
intervening. On that note, this emotional plastic surgery, you should be reading a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, Sidhu. I think we have spoken about this.
I have that on my list.
Psycho-Cybernetics, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who was a plastic surgeon, and I would like to share the story with you. Back in 1960s, the world did not have so much of bunch of plastic surgeons, only less amount of number, and this man was a leader into it. And on a Tuesday morning, one girl called Maury, she comes to Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and she has a scar across her face. A very beautiful girl, good looking, and having all the sorrows of the world put on her shoulders, and she visits Dr. Maxwell Maltz clinic and says that, would you be able to change my face? And he was very confident, and he assertively mentions that, bring your photograph. What's your age? I'm 19. Okay, bring your photograph that you snapped at the age of 80, 1 year back. So she brings the photograph, and he starts looking into the photograph, and he confidently says the clinical procedure system. And the girl, without any animation on her face, not because of the injury, but also she's not very much animated with all the good things that Dr. Maxwell Maltz mentioned. And even Dr. Maltz was wondering, why is this girl not getting happy? I'm saying that I can give you the beauty back with this plastic surgery, he says, and nothing inspires the girl. And she says, yeah, okay. And after the surgery, make sure that you are giving me the bill. I'll send a check to you, she said, and she left. And this man took it very personally. Oh my God, I used to have the clients who used to jump between the sky and the ground when I say something of that sort. And this girl is really annoying me. So he puts up a trunk call. Back in 1960s, telecommunication being very poor. He puts up a trunk call and he asks, young lady, are you not really very happy with what I have said this afternoon? I said I would be paying the money that you are asking, and it's a wonderful thing that you are going to do. Agreed, all that, no offenses. But what is that to be very happy about? Because you are doing your job and I'm looking for a service. It kept annoying Dr. Maxwell Maltz. So the surgery happens, and Maltz was very confident that after the surgery, the post-surgery reaction has always been very animatic from the other clients. So he thinks that he stands with the mirror. Right hand, he holds the mirror. Left hand, he holds the photograph. And normally what happens is when the person is unveiled from the bandage, they will look into the mirror, they will look into the photograph, they will jump, and they will give a very affectionate hug to Maxwell Maltz, and they will see him like an idol. He was expecting the same reaction. The bandage was taken. He hands over the two objects to the girl's hand. She looks into the mirror. She looks into the photograph, looks into the mirror, looks back into the photograph. And she keeps both of that on the table and says, thank you, doctor. Send the bill and I'll send the check. She leaves. This man was totally angry and he was annoyed and he was livid, and he started shouting at the girl. And the girl was saying, I'm really sorry. I'm not that of type who will be really very much enthusiastic and exaggeratingly emotional when you do something. You send me the check. Maybe I'll give you 40% extra of the fees that you are looking forward. And that really ate him. And they said that, whoa, wait. This is a charity surgery. You understand that? I'm not going to collect even a single penny from you. If you are speaking about this like this, and if this is a total reaction that you are giving on a transforming surgery, then I don't want any money from you. So let it be a charity. And he insults a girl. And the girl comes calm and she holds his hand and she looks into the eye with a beautiful face that he has given through the surgery. And she said, Dr. Marx, you're a plastic surgeon. And you regenerated the tissues across my skin on the face. All that is fine. So you have done a wonderful physical plastic surgery on my face. This accident happened. My dad and mom passed away. And because of this scar that I had across my face, I was engaged and that man went away. He walked out on me. And there are plenty of emotional surgeries to be performed. What you did is plastic surgery. But can you do emotional plastic surgery to me? Will you be able to do that? And then the man was speechless. So that is why you have corrected only this, but you can never get into myself and you can correct my emotional injuries. My emotional injuries will be there and I'll have to do something for which you don't have a solution. Saying this, she broke the man into part and she left. And then onwards, Dr. Maxwell Maltz changes his ideology. He stops practicing plastic surgery and he starts writing a book called as Psycho-Cybernetics. And you won't understand, you won't believe Sidhu, more than being a plastic surgeon. After writing Psycho-Cybernetics, he became world famous. Right? So he took a lot of people and he came up with lots of therapies after doing the research on Psycho-Cybernetics. And those days, Sigmund Freud and Charles Jung, the Jungian therapy, were really ruling the world after the post-World War II, all that. But this man's Psycho-Cybernetics were well received. So then when he got into the coffin, he went out of this world with a satisfaction, not as a plastic surgeon, but as a Psycho-Cybernetics preacher. So I want you to read this book, if you will.
Sure, I have it on my list of books to be read. Awesome. So next, I'd like to sort of give you some single word terms, and I'd like you to define it for me in your own terms, right?
Sure.
The first one being pain, suffering.
It will pass on. I mean, if you're giving too much of life to it, it is really going to dominate you and it will become a monster. Kill the monster when it is little. It will pass on. So it is, you can always, whatever the pain and suffering is, you can always kill the monster when it is little.
Happiness.
Happiness, there is no way for happiness. Rather, happiness is a way. Happiness is always inside us. That's a way. That's a way. Now, you are happy now looking at me. I'm very happy looking at you. So we both are really happy for the past about 30, 40 minutes. So happiness is a state of mind. It is not something that could be paid for and procured. It's a state of mind. So you want the answers in this length?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Sorrow.
Well, sorrow is a chance where God comes and shows up in front of you and he says, you need a little growth. And he gives you the sorrow. And you can use the sorrow as a leverage and as a growth spurt, and you can really consume it and you can grow. That's the way I see sorrow.
Awesome. That leads me to the next one, struggle.
The struggle is really making you strong. What doesn't kill you makes you strong, right? So speaking about struggle, I would like to give a metaphorical example. When I go for the bicep curl or when I go for the chin up, there is a terrible struggle of these two elbows not being able to carry the entire torso and the lower body's weight. That's struggle. But what happens is you go for the extra repetitions or 4 or 5. And then you get a pump after you leave that chin-up bar. You get a pump on the forearm, you get a pump on the bicep, the trapezium, shoulder, chest, and latissimus dorsi. For that pump, I can go along the struggle to as much as I can. So that struggle is what is giving the pump. So metaphorically speaking, the struggle always comes up with a hidden package called as that pump. So if you're not able to look into the pump in the package, then you are really doing a mistake. So wait for the pump
Next
and
one.
continue to struggle. Yeah.
Sure. Next one is success.
Success is just like I was explaining about happiness. Success is in tiny, tiny things. When you are giving your heart, mind, blood, and soul, and you are giving your 100% in anything, and the feeling that you get after you give the 100% is what is called as success. Nothing else.
I'd
Success
like to
cannot be.
go a little more on that because people tend to think of it differently. They put markers, they put milestones. They don't really understand what you just defined there. So I'd like you to explain a little more so that people get a little better perspective on success.
Well, that's because the ego is given so much of importance. When I say success, and if I'm, hypothetical situation, if Manikandan Sundaresan is a person who is driven by ego, and that ego does a lot of crazy things. Okay, so the ego defines, it gives you structure, it gives you lots of judgmental perceptions, and it asks you to define things with numbers, resources, and the kind of size, magnanimity. I would like to speak about Oscar Schindler. You might have read about him, and you might have watched Schindler's List as well. You heard about him, Oscar Schindler? Oscar Schindler, you heard?
Yeah. Well, I've heard of the movie. I've not watched it yet.
I think you will have to watch. Liam Neeson is a wonderful actor, and he did it well. Okay, right. So let us not get into the movies. Let's come back to Oscar Schindler. See, Oscar Schindler was very much successful. He considered himself very much successful. When the Germans beat the Jew, just like that, and they wanted the Jew to evacuate from the regions, and Oscar was really trying to milk up most of. He being a German himself, belonging to the Nazi party, he started milking up his own business. And he started employing lots of Jews who were really lifeless and jobless. He was considering himself very much successful until one of the Hitler's disciples was really putting all those Jews into the massacre. So once he was killing the massacres and the Holocaust, which is a very historical kind of unfortunate incident where almost about 6 million Jews were burnt out, that changes Oscar Schindler's mindset. And what happens is whatever the profit that he had earned from that business that he did with the Jew, he put the money back to buy every single Jew from that particular camp in which Hitler's army were torturing the Jews. So he buys every single person. He buys every single person, and he buys about 1,800 of the people, and he puts them in a train, and he sends all those people to his hometown. There he sets up a separate factory and he employs them and he makes them. They are called as the Schindler Jewons. They themselves are calling themselves as Schindler Jewons, and they are still there. They're still there. Okay. So here, Oscar was not realizing success when he was minting a lot of money when he was running that factory. He considered success and only when he has taken all the 1,800
bailed them out.
Correct. So that's what he considered success. And the funny part, the biggest irony was, US beats Germany in the World War and Germany surrenders. So Oscar is also arrested, being a German man. And these people gave him a ring, thanking him for all the things that he did. And when he looked into the gold, and when he looked into the emblem that had the Nazi party emblem, that was a gold pin, and he starts crying, why should I hold this gold? Even by selling this, I could have got some money, and with that money, I would have bought 2 more Jew people from the camp. So he cries, he panters, he falls down, and then he is taken to the hanging. So that man realized what is success only when he was experiencing the emotional feeling of buying those Jews back from the camp. Coming back to the question, success is about the state of mind and what you feel within yourself when you have put the 100%. When the other people are naming it, when they are labeling it, then that's not your business, that's their business. So in order to finish the answer for the question that you asked, the other people will be naming and labeling it. And please understand that other people are looking at everything in their own perspective. You are not responsible for their own perspective. You are responsible only about your perspective. That's how it is.
So moving to sort of a different chapter, how do you define life in your own terms?
You know, um, when there is a trip, you can predict the trip and you know how the trip is going to be, whether it is going to be a successful trip or it's going to be a failure trip. But you cannot predict a journey. There are plenty of people who are living life as a trip, trying to predict, trying to have a lot of skeptical belief system. But journey is something very magnanimous. When you consider life as a journey, then it is really going to give you something back. Life is just like wife, you know. So you look at wife with love, love is given back. You look at wife with hatred, some wife will give love back, some wife will give the hatred. And your friend, life, what I mean to say that life is not like wife, life is not like any other companions that you could have. Life is like a very good friend, because if you treat well and if you're really having an attachment towards it, the friend is really going to be always along with you. It is about every single day being thankful of what you are blessed with and what you are blessed with, and trying to take as much benefit out of it as possible. And I also believe that life will offer you so many things if you are really excited about what is going to happen in the next month. Okay, now I'm 40. What is going to happen in 45? There were people who were really struggling when they were 45. So now I'm going to be in that situation. Fine. So let me see if I'm also going to struggle like them, or I would like to prove in a different way and I would like to prove them wrong. So if you see life in this perspective, then I think you are away from so much of stereotypical kind of pains and struggles that the people are saying that you will have in life. You can escape all that. So trying to count life a lap by lap with a baby step, not having too much of vision. But at the same time, I'm not saying that you should not have a vision. There is always a difference between having a vision and being so much responsible and being so much weighted about the vision. That's a different story altogether. What I'm saying is have a vision, but take baby steps. That's how life has to be seen, in my opinion.
Awesome. We're actually about an hour or so into this. Do you want to take a break?
It's okay, Sidhu. We can continue.
Okay.
Would you like to have a break or something?
No, I'm good as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So next I'll get in a little personal. Who and why is the most important person in your life? And it could be more than one. So please be elaborate with it.
Okay. So can that be family members?
Of course.
Yeah. My dad has always been. We spoke about a break, so can I take a little breather, Sidhu? I would like to put on the charge.
Sure.
If that is not going to be a problem.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I'll also go get some water then.
Yeah,
Pause
please. Have the question again, Sidhu.
Important person in your life. It could be multiple people, and why? Briefly.
Well, very important people. I've got some 4 or 5 people. That includes everybody in the family. That's default, right? And if you ask me specifically, yeah, my dad, because he has been always a big support, and we have spoken about dad already. Second person, my elder brother, Mr. Manikandan Sundaresan. So after my dad, he took a lot of responsibility. Exclusively, we both were really having a struggle keeping our mom on a very safe position. After the dad's demise, it was very difficult to hold up mom, and mom was also a very strong person. Now she's catching up and she's really doing well, thanks to God and thanks to dad. And if you ask about the other few people, there are some 3 or 4 people. One is his name is Dr. Balaji Vignesh, who happens to be a kindergarten mate, and we both were class friends. We both were schoolmates, college mates. I think he's one among a very important friends, and he's traveling along with me in life. And he set up a career by talking to me. He did not want to have a career, first of all. He wanted to get back to agriculture just like his dad after MBA. He appeared along with me in Bharatiya University entrance examination. He failed miserably, and then he got into a private institution. He finished his MBA somehow, and then he started working. And I told him that he has got this teaching potential, and now he's working in a college as an assistant professor. And the next person is you, Sidharth Vijayan. So I would like to speak as a third person. If there was a person who has been a student, who has been a brother, who has been a very good friend, and who has been a follower, and a person who calls a spade in all the walks of life. So you are next after. As a matter of fact, Manikandan Sundaresan, Balaji Vignesh, Sidharth Vijayan, everybody come very close in hand. So that's about you, because you have always taken your decisions, irrespective of the intellectual things that you have. You have always been taking decisions whenever I've been asking you to do so, and we have been having so much of things in common. So you fall next. And the next person is Mr. C.K. Krishnan. I think I have spoken about him to you. C.K. Krishnan, who happens to be my school English teacher and my mathematics teacher. I used to go, it's a funny thing, I used to go for the tuition. In the morning, I used to attend English tuition, and the evening, I used to attend maths tuition. In the morning, I used to be a hero, and in the evening, I'd be the last bencher. C.K. Krishnan never liked me in the evenings. The evening version of Manikandan Sundaresan, C.K. Krishnan never liked, because I was very, very poor in mathematics. That man didn't marry. He was having a vision of becoming a teacher, and in the Municipal Boys High Secondary School of Pollachi, he was a teacher, and he retired from there. And there is a lodge called a Sitaram Lodge in Pollachi. You must have heard about it. And he's running that lodge right now. He's beyond 75 right now, and he's still living with the same kind of values and principles that he has been holding when I was a 9th standard student. And then C.K. Krishnan, his name is. And after that, Mr. C. Ramaswamy, the secretary, about to be retired of Mahalingam College of Engineering and Technology, and Dr. Christopher Ramesh, who has been, again, an English teacher. If C.K. Krishnan was my English teacher in school, Mr. Christopher Ramesh was the English teacher in college. And then it so happened that we both became colleagues downline in the future. So these are some of the people. And I have got so many students as a segment, a common segment, who are all really valuing. But on the top of even those students, if you ask me about few members, these are the people, some 4 or 5 of them. Starts with my dad and ends up with Christopher Ramesh.
Okay. What have been your biggest challenges in life?
My biggest challenges in life was, there are 3 or 4, but I would like to speak about 1 or 2 here. The inability of coming out of the fact or recovering from the fact that my dad is not here with me. You could very easily relate, because we both are having the same kind of suffering. That's point number 1. That has been a challenge, that is remaining as a challenge. And I won't say that will remain as a challenge, because time heals everything. But right now it is a challenge. The next challenge is the biggest uncertainty that I have in this profession. Barring all the things that we have been speaking, I'll have to be a little realistic as well. There is always an uncertainty in this profession, because this particular profession has got a business model. If you speak as a businessman, now for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I would like to speak as an entrepreneur, not as an entrepreneur, but I would like to speak as a businessman. This business model is very fragile in nature, because at any given point of time, you don't have customer draining, but you will have customer feeling draining. That is, a person will not forget the importance of a soft skills training, but a person will forget the importance of the skills as he is taken into the various kinds of U-turns of his life. And they will forget that they need a skills development class like this. They will forget that they will need some person who could mentor them on the right pathway. That's how the colleges are right now. They are experiencing a heavy coma stage, because they have forgotten that this kind of personal development and behavior modification module are not that important right now. As a matter of fact, it is going to be important even more only from now onwards.
More so.
Yeah.
because by God's grace, I have started realizing that I'm coming up with lots of different modules these days, and I'm trying to prepare a lot of change modules. I mean, we both were like addressing the students about the fear management and stuff. So the modules are emerging. So that kind of uncertainty has been given with an answer. But after 2 or 3 years, this uncertainty is never going. It's going to come back again. So that's a second kind of challenge that I have. The next challenge I would like to speak is, some way or other, I'm always backwarded with the technological resources speed. So I'm learning technology. I learn how to use laptop. I learn how to configure laptop. I learn how to use the internet. I learn how to use a smartphone and all that. Everything happened only after I became an entrepreneur. But there are areas where are still remaining gray. There are areas still remaining gray. I have to explore all that. And that has always been a very big challenge. So technical savvy, if you call me a technical savvy, then that will be the biggest joke, but I'm trying to become a technical savvy. I'm trying to become one, maybe in the future. So these are all some of the challenges that I'm facing, but these things can be handled.
So I observed you saying something interesting, that for 2 minutes, I'd like to speak as a businessman, not an entrepreneur. I'd like to delve a little more on it. I believe that there is a definition. I'd like to hear your definition.
Definition about businessman?
What's the difference between the two? Because a lot of people don't understand the difference, and I'd like for people to understand it.
Well, entrepreneur is a person who sees everything from a wider perspective. He calls himself as an entrepreneur as a pride. And he calls himself as an entrepreneur. When he calls himself as an entrepreneur, he involves the occupation that he's doing, the kinds of skills that he's having, and the services levels or the nature of service that he's delivering. So he's putting all that together when he calls himself as an entrepreneur. But when someone is calling himself or herself as a businessman or businesswoman, all these wider perspective has been taken up. What kind of work that I give, what is the earning that I'm getting out of the work that I give, and what is the kind of possibility of surviving in the market with the kind of work that I do. That's the third one. And the fourth and final one is, there is a kind of an egotistical element that is put up when the person is calling himself as a businessman. It is the difference between calling yourself as a priest and calling yourself as working as an accountant in a temple. A priest is an entrepreneur, but working as an accountant in a temple is a businessman. Both are getting the same kind of blessings from God. But
I like the analogy. Interesting. I'd like to, because we have only 15 minutes more, I'd like to
if you would like to elongate,
which are interesting.
it's not a problem for me.
We could. We'd try that. What is the biggest lie that you've been told as a individual in life, that life has told you? People and life in general.
That I used to listen to some songs, and some of the songs will carry some lyric that everything is good hereafter. Everything is going to be good hereafter. Ini ellam sugame. So ini kavalaye illai. So that is a very big lie. That's a very big lie. Because when you get convinced and satisfied and you put your feet and you lie down saying that, oh my God, I have been pulled up and I have pulled it out, and I'm really, finally I can relax. I can put my back onto the bed and I can relax. And then life comes and says, oh yeah, wait for a minute, I'm coming. So life always comes up with the answer then. So the biggest lie that I have been ever told is, you will always be happy. Then they lived happy ever after. That's such a big lie, That's so funny and such a big lie.
I'm just taking notes so that I can have this as reference.
Right.
Are there any other myths that you want to bust? Some myths that have been passed down generation after generation that you want to break?
There's one
make
big
people
myth.
understand that these are myths.
Of course, yes. There is one big myth. Even I'm wondering how to crack that myth. It is always like a puzzle for me. And you see, Sidhu, let us go back 2 years or 3 years back in the timeline, and those times, plenty of engineering students got graduated, people joined jobs, people started businesses. In 2016, 2017, if they have started, and they would have got plenty of preoccupied thinking in their mind when they started that. Now what they are thinking, we are having this big problem that is standing in front of us, and something that the history has never seen, and we are seeing that in the history. So now what those people are thinking,
the people who have started the business 4 years back, the people who finished their graduation 4 years back, people who started studying 4 years back. These days, when I speak about goal setting, career mapping, career planning, let me be very honest with you, I'm not getting a proper motivation to speak about all of that. Because anyhow, if you are going to teach the student to set goals, yeah, he will be setting goals, but what if something of this sort comes and stands in front of him? It is going to come. We are going to have several things like this coming up. So that kind of, that particular law, that evil law, comes and strikes me in my mind. How are we going to guide the people? Because when you are speaking about the goal setting and all the soft skills leadership module, one person will come and looks into your eye and says, come on, this is all really BS, because you're going to have a pandemic like this, and when it comes to you, everything goes downturn. What am I supposed to do? If a student asks such a question, I don't have an answer. I want this myth to be broken. But don't think that I will be mumbling about it and I will be sitting in the corner. No, I'll be working on a module, how this myth can be broken. So this is one particular myth that I would like to break, and that solution should be given to generation and generation after. So I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to really work on it. So the evening sessions I'm having with the pre-teens, because pre-teens are the best target audience for giving this myth. You might be having several situations like this in the future, but that is not supposed to stop you. I remember last year, the same time, I was praying for rain because the rain was very insufficient. But look at this year. This year we are having sufficient rain, no complaints about that, but we are dealing with a different problem. In 2021, July, we might be having something. So every time God keeps giving us some challenges and some problems. If you're a master goal setter, if you're a master leader, whatever you are, whoever you are, God comes up like Thanos and he snaps the finger and he takes everything away from you. So that kind of myth, I would like to search a solution for. And I'm really seriously working on it.
So if I'm not wrong, the myth that you're talking about is the traditional thinking of goal setting.
Traditional thinking of goal setting.
Traditional methods of setting.
Yeah, and the law of uncertainty, that is the biggest evil factor for any person who is having the mindset of setting goals. It's like the paradox of searching for a key and God changes the lock. It's a paradox of looking for a solution and you think that you have become stronger, and then some other version of problem which is not even being introduced to any human race in the human evolution comes and stands in front of you, and oh my God, where did this come from? So that's a myth I want to break, and as a trainer I would like to give solution for that.
Okay. One phrase, or maybe 2 or 3 phrases, one word or 2-3 word phrase explains or
There is
set of words as a phrase.
I am sorry, Sidhu. There was a glitch when you were explaining, so could you please repeat? It stopped.
Okay. Yeah. So I was asking, sure. Is there one word or a set of words as a phrase that describes Dr. Manikandan Sundaresan?
Unstoppable, a person who is very mysterious, unpredictable, but never settling. And there is one more phrase that if you ask my mom, my wife and my daughter, and even my brother, they will say, unbelievable, and he is so exhausting. Yeah. But on a serious note, I would like to say, ever dreaming, unstoppable, and unpredictable, Sidhu. That would be fine. That would be fine. I like that unstoppable part, because 2 days back, I kept on, I was referring some of the journals of 2013, 14, and I used to write journals. Now I'm doing it on a digitalized basis in the smartphone. I have got an app for it. I kept on having lots of challenges in terms of the profession when I referred. There has always been a big set of problems from the clients. One client used my surveys and the client has not given a proper recognition. One client has not paid for the service. Likewise, these kind of tiny little things emerging and put together as a massive thing, something kept on happening. And you know what? I have been surmounting all that, and I have been passing by and still going strong. So
last week I got a very strong feel that you're really good. You are really traveling for a long time. So that's what I felt. That's why I said this word unstoppable.
Cool. I think I've covered pretty much everything. The one question I didn't ask you, and I think I should ask you this, is you must have definitely encountered students, family members, friends, a lot of people with two different sets of mindsets. Fixed growth. How do you inculcate growth mindset in people who have a fixed mindset?
I mean, fixed mindset and the people who are seeing things on wider perspective, when you mentioned. I would just like to have a clarification on the question.
Whenever they approach something, there is a fixed mindset that they approach it with. You have a different perspective, maybe right, maybe wrong. That's the whole point of having a growth mindset, that you accept that you could be wrong. You have a perspective, but you are all open to another one. Right? That kind of thought process, yeah.
Yeah, I have been exposed to plenty of people. Even if you are addressing a group of about 50, 60 people, 40 people will be in this segment and the other 20 people will be in that segment. But you got to understand that the human brain is a borrowed resource. When a person is born and the person is raised up by the family members, the brain is something that is not 16 years, or if you take a case of a 16-year-old boy, the brain is not 16 years. It is a borrowed resource. It was living in a sparrow before, this boy's mind, and it was living in a snake, or it was living in some other species, and it has been borrowed. The biggest part is whatever the mindset is, fixed mindset or a wider perspective mindset, parents, the growing circumstances, the education, and the self-talk put by that individual. I would like to repeat: parents, the circumstances, the education that was given to the boy or the girl, and the self-talk that they were putting into it. So if you ask me, I would like to bring about Bruce Lipton here, a wonderful neurobiologist. And Bruce Lipton says the first 7 years, whatever you put into the mind of the child, then you're pretty much sure how the child will be in the future. Now, your daughter is definitely into this category. She's 7, she's 8 now. What is her age?
5.
Yeah.
Turning 5 in a
She still has a wonderful 2 years. So Bruce Lipton says whatever that you put into this mind for about the first 7 years, if you want the child to become a rocket scientist, feed accordingly and say things accordingly, the child will become the rocket scientist. No matter how. I mean, irrespective of the political influences and the pitfalls of the government and the constitutional flaws that we are having in a particular government in which we are living, irrespective of all that, the child will emerge successful. That's what Bruce Lipton said. And when I watched this video, I started exploring the theories of Bruce Lipton, and he speaks about the ecology of the human evolution, and everything is coming on a true basis. You cannot find a fault in his experience. So coming back to the mindset that you mentioned, those fixed mindset people are the ones who were left reckless in the first 7 years of their growth. And you cannot go back in time and change, right? But the people who are having a wide perspective, if you make a deep analysis in their house, you would have had one particular dad or one particular uncle or one particular brother or a cousin or a senior grandma or grandpa would have done that programming into the mind of that particular person. And that's why the person is like this, right? So when you are trying to change the person, you are trying to change only the secondary thing. The primary source is somewhere else. So either you ask the person to motivate himself or herself to go to the primary source and try to change himself, or you balance the person according to whatever the person is. That's what Andrew Carnegie, the big steel businessman, did in the 19th century. He was a very big steel businessman, and he wanted people to dig the ground for getting the iron ore raw material. And he put only those people who are having cranky mindset, because that person who is with a cranky mindset, that person only will be able to do that hardcore work. All he needs is just a piece of bread and a little bit of brandy at the end of the day. So Andrew Carnegie tried to recruit only those cranky people. He did not try to change those cranky people into noble hearts. He just gave the work according to the character and value system of the person. So we got only two choices. Either go back to the primary source and change him psychologically, or you just deal or treat the person according to the person's mindset. But I always go for the first one. I try to change the first one. We speak about some of the students way back. Let's go back. Let's make a flashback of your college days. In 2003, 2004, when you were a final year student, mechanical, Vinod was there. He was a very good friend of you and friend of me. And what is his name? Vasant was there. So those people were really, they were also having the friendship. But some of the work that I can extract from Sidhu cannot be extracted from a person like Vinod. So I gave him the work which he would be able to do, and I gave you the work which you will be able to do. So that's
on the contrary as well.
It's all about
like something that only he can do, I wouldn't be able to.
Right. Exactly. That's also right. So that's how it is. So that's the best way to deal. Hope I have answered that question.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So just three more questions. One of them is a very simple one. You mentioned an app that you use for journaling. If people can know what it is, that will be helpful.
It was Evernote app. Evernote is, I'm pretty sure that is also on your phone. So the green color icon, one with an elephant, Evernote.
Elephant, yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Stopped using it. I used to use it quite a lot, but it's a useful app.
Right.
Two, how do people reach you?
I have never gone to an extent of going to some client and giving a sales promotion presentation. Even Colonel Sanders did that. Such a very big businessman who has been, echoed centuries together. When he was trying to sell his chicken recipe, he went door to door. But in my opinion, I was always traveled with the word of mouth of the people. Somebody referred, somebody spoke. Now I have started giving the classes for the teens who are living in the US. 2 days back, I started a class, and I've been telling you. So the word of mouth promotion and the kind of service. My brother used to say that this man touches lives of the people. This guy touches lives of the people. So he gave me that compliment very recently. So when you touch the life of the people, then people will become the public relation officer of you, right? So they start speaking about you to the others, and they come. So
sorry. I'll correct my question. My question is, how, if someone watching this video wants to reach out to you, then how can they? That was my question.
I would like to give my contact number, and I would like to give the YouTube channel. So one ping in the YouTube channel in any of the video that will alert me in the YT Studio app that I have at phone, and they can directly give me a call. I'm using only one number. A recent research says that if a person is using the same number for about 10 or 11 years, that person is the most noblest person. I read that article and I got so much happy. So I would like to...
So if you can, please mention the channel, your channel's name.
All they have to do is they just Google the name Manikandan Sundaresan. That will straight away lead to the channel. Otherwise, Youth Corp, YYTHCORP, Manikandan. Youth Corp, Manikandan together. If they Google that term in their Google, it will straight away get to the official YouTube channel. So they can watch the videos, and most of the videos are free, and they can have access to all the views. Even this one, if you could help me, Sidhu, if you send the recording to me, I will edit it.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. One last question: if there is anyone, if there is anything that you are looking from people in terms of help, resources, anything that you are looking in terms of support, I think this will be a good place to reach out to people as well. If at all.
Well, the help that I'm looking forward is I have a scarcity of like-minded people. Yeah, scarcity of like-minded people. As far as you are concerned, we always share an incredible wavelength, and you would be able to understand whatever I say, and vice versa. So that wavelength is what I'm really expecting. So, there is no better thing than a client having this kind of a wavelength. That's what I expect. So when somebody is looking for some services, all I need is only two things. One, they will have to explain what kind of service that they need. Two, they will have to understand that it will take a little bit of a time for the transformation to happen. So the shortcut methods and shortcut results, if they are expecting in this industry, it's definitely not going to happen. because I'm not an Nostradamus or Baba Vanga to predict things with a person. So that is the only thing that I'm expecting help. And I'm in, you were asking about that, and I was also telling, I would like to have a person who can design a website for Manikandan Sundaresan with the name Manikandan Sundaresan. Just not Youth Corp alone, just manikandansundaresan.com or something, which will really take these things to the various levels of heights. I was looking for a YouTube channel. I have started there, and it's going on successfully for the past 10 years. If the YouTube channel is going to be measured with the number of subscribers, then I'm going to be in the last. But if the YouTube channel is going to be measured with the content depth, then I'm going to be in the first, as much as the local channels are concerned. So somebody could do the website, and I want the techie guys who can record things, who can make some edits and make it as a customized video and put it in the YouTube channel. So these are the kind of technical help I'm always looking for, because all that is I'm doing myself. If I record the video, I edit, I post it. But if you've got a technical team for all that, it will be really helpful. These are all the helps that I'm.
Awesome. I hope that people who watch this video will reach out and we could talk as well. Just one last thing. What are the books that you're reading right now? Are recommended books? Maybe 2 to 5 books that you recommend and are reading right now. You've already mentioned one, Psycho-Cybernetics. Anything else?
I have always been a great fan of Orison Swett Martin. If you Google Orison Swett Martin, he wrote a book in 1901, a century back, and the book was called as He Can Who Thinks He Can, and Conquest of Worry. These are all some of the books written by Orison Swett Martin. He's a great man, He was living in the periods of James Allen. James Allen, the world famous book called as a Man Thinketh. So the book called as a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and He Can Who Thinks He Can by Orison Swett Martin, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, so helpful. And I want youngsters who are watching this program to jump into John C. Maxwell, Sidhu. John C. Maxwell's books, specifically speaking, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership written by John C. Maxwell, is one great book that you can find in the Goodreads also, in Google Goodreads also it has been mentioned. Anything that is written by John C. Maxwell, you see, that guy is a pastor, he has been a businessman, and he is always, he has always been a philanthropist. That's what is really making me look into. So John C. Maxwell comes up with lots of books, and if you go for even the Kindle version, even that is going to cost you about $400-500. If you go for the hard copy, well, American people consider that as a Bible. And again, John C. Maxwell is one. And then I would like to finish up with Dr. Wayne Dyer. Anything that is with the name of Dr. Wayne Dyer is really so helpful, because he's a spiritual master. I love his voice, and I love the way he speaks. You should listen to Change Your Thoughts and Change Your Life. You will really love it. He comes up with some 81 verses in that Change Your Thoughts and Change Your Lives. A verse a day will definitely help you. So these are some of the books. You asked for 1 or 2, but I'm really sorry. I always go extra mile.
That's good.
Thank you.
Awesome. I think I'm done. This was awesome, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time out for this. And I hope that we can publish it and create impact through this. This is just the beginning.
So you are satisfied that you have asked all the questions, Sidhu?
Yes.
Right. Okay.